The next thing to talk about is the food systems of the world have changed so rapidly in the last 20 years that the players, it used to be in our country from 1900 to 1980, 90, that the government with ag policy created the food system we have. Today, it's agribusinesses, it's the Cargills, it's Archer Daniel Midland, it's the retailers, it's the food service sector, and the consumer packaged goods sector that tells farmers what to do and what to produce. So recently, colleagues of mine went from thousands of farms in India, Bangladesh, China, all the way through the chain and found, lo and behold, the same system was happening in these three countries. We're finding that transformation happening across Latin America, across Africa and Asia. So the players that we're dealing with to deal with food systems are no longer governments. Their role is much different. Today, the people we're thinking about are really retailers, food manufacturers, global agribusinesses, and food chains. And that's who we have to be thinking about. Governments don't have the same role in telling farmers what to do and what we produce and consume. It's really shockingly changed. So for example, in Latin America, they went from 10% of the peso spent on food in consumer packaged goods sectors, grocery stores, and so on, to 60% by 2000, between 1990 and 2000, and it's gone up to 80, 90% today. But in Mexico, when I then went and enseñed the National Nutrition Survey, where I helped to fund the diet part of the survey that Mauricio, as a Deputy Minister of Health, had a lot to do with getting the money for, we asked for each food item, was it in a box with a barcode? 58% of the foods were. China, same thing on my survey we do there, 29%. But China, it's doubling, 50% growth each year in consumer packaged goods from that survey in 2011. I expect in our survey next year, it'll be 50 to 60%. So the diets are shifting, where the food is coming from in really major ways, and we have to realize this transformation that we've experienced in the US and UK in particular is happening globally, and it's really changing the nature of what we do. And how is the world eating? The world's diet has shifted so much from when I started watching and working here, and then at the same time working across the globe, and they're eating more and more like us in so many ways. If you think of our food supply, 75% of our foods have added sugar in them, and the same for our beverages. If you think of how we've shifted animal source food intake, if you think of how refined our carbohydrates are, you think of the convenience food. Snacking. Mexico, Brazil, and the US all have 20 to 25% of the calories from snacking. It is changing. China has doubled every year from 2000 and they never snacked. None of these countries snacked in 1950. We are creating ways of eating, extra meals, all sorts of kind of dynamics you have to understand. Convenience foods, changes. Now, the unique difference between the US and Europe and the rest of the low and middle income world is vegetable oil. They have added so much of that to their diets and deep frying and other things. That's the only unique thing. The declines are the same. Legumes, gosh, when I started doing research and published one paper in New England Journal, low-income America in the 60s and 70s ate the healthiest diet. Beans, vegetables, very little animal food, not a whole lot of fat, a little bit of lard and butter, and high-income Americans had heart disease and ate butter and really unhealthy diets, meat and potatoes and whatever. It's shifted. It's gone the opposite direction. That's what's happening in every low-income country I'm working in. The disparity is shifting, the diet changes are shifting, and we've got to keep that in our mind. And we've got to keep remembering that what we're talking about is more and more a low-income issue and not a high-income issue. And food preparation time, which was 5, 6 hours when I first started studying this in Asia, is the same amount of time. In our country, it's 27 minutes a day on average from time use studies, a national time use study. In Asia, it's now getting to be an hour from 4 hours, and it's moving down really fast. So the reality is across the globe, we've got some very broad shifts.